Hi everyone, my name is Phil Lichtenberger, and this is our Scanner School live Q&A session. This is where I jump on YouTube for about an hour on the first Saturday of every month to answer your scanner radio related questions live. Of course, as you can see, this is live. If you're catching us on a replay, you're going to be missing all the fun that we just had while the stream crashed immediately out of the gate. So again, we're consistent here, and we are working on a solution for that. So at least we know what is going on, or we think what's triggering these types of events. So what I'm going to do over here on my end is I'm just changing the view a little bit so that I can see what you guys see on my end. And while I'm doing that, why don't you let me know in the chat if you are watching this live, where you're from. And also, if you have a question for me that you would like answered on today's Q&A session. Checking in on the chat so far this morning, we've got VA3JPX from Ontario, Canada. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Jackson, Mississippi. EM is in from Jackson, Mississippi. And Kevin is in. Kevin, how are you doing? And again, JPX is watching live. So again, let's talk about EM. Go ahead and just drop your two questions right there in the chat, and we will do our best to get them answered. And if you aren't subscribed to our podcast or to our YouTube channel, you might have missed that we released a brand new podcast episode this past week. So after almost a year hiatus from podcasting and YouTube content, we have now dropped original content for the first time in about a year. The reason for that year-long hiatus is that, if you don't know, I had been battling stage 4 cancer. Last April, I started going through radiation therapy, and that was the final straw on my back. I could not continue to put out content the way I had been doing so. Needed some time to just sit back, relax, recover, and just allow my body to just, get back to normalcy. Things are looking good right now for me, so we're going to hit the ground running again. We released a new podcast episode. What we're going to continue to release on YouTube in the weeks that are coming are the video versions of podcast episodes that we had previously released in audio-only format. We're going to continue to do this until the video versions catch up to the audio version. And in about a month and a half or so, we will then resume publishing both audio and video content on the same day. So what's going to happen is, you see me right now the way I look. When I release the next podcast episode in video format, that is going to be a publication that we've already done on audio, I'm going to look different. I'm going to look a lot fatter. It's going to be me still going through treatments and medications and whatnot. So when you see the next video, it's not going to look like me, but we just finished going through the editing and publishing it. And I'm really excited for this. And the reason why I'm not re-recording it and going through it is because it would just delay things another month. But it's the middle of a series that I call Scanner Radio University. And what this series is it's to get you going. If you haven't had any experience with the scanner radio hobby, if you've been away from the hobby, or maybe there's some things that you might need some help getting through, some of the basic stuff, that's what Scanner Radio University is. So we talk about basically what is scanner radio, the differences between conventional, trunking, and when we talk about conventional, simplex, repeater, duplex. When we go through some digital modes, what's P25, what is DMR, what is NXDN, what makes all these different? How does a trunk system work? What are talk groups? What's the difference between phase 1 and phase 2? Do I need an external antenna? What is simulcast, and how come I can't listen to simulcast transmissions on my older P25 phase 2 scanner radios? These are questions that we see a lot on different Facebook groups, in Radio Reference, and even in our own groups. So we're going to break down basically a very slow I'm not going to call this a crash course because every single week is going to be a new topic. And we're going to break each topic down into about a 20-minute segment. So these videos are going to be easy to digest, and they're going to help bring you up to speed in the scanner radio hobby if you're new to scanning. So the nice thing about this is in about an afternoon, you'll know what you kind of need to know in order to be dangerous enough to enjoy the scanner radio hobby. Now, on top of that, we are planning on releasing other content separate from the Scanner Radio University series each week as well. So this past Thursday, a couple days ago, we dropped a brand new video, original video, that can only be found on our YouTube channel for the BCD160DN. It was just an unboxing video. And basically, it shows you what comes in the box, what's missing from the box, and also the first power on. Now, we are going to follow up with that video with other videos related to the BCD160DN, such as pros and cons, a full-on review, and a programming video. We're not making this one big giant video because I feel that somebody's not going to be looking for an hour and a half long video about this radio. Although we can do that if that is what you guys want. But I figured from being able to find the information out there, if somebody's searching how to use a BCD160DN, how to program BCD160DN, boom, we got the video for them right there. Or if they're looking for a full review, why bury a review in an hour-long video? I mean, I can do all that, but I think that if somebody's looking for something, let's just get the video out there. So we've already worked on the unboxing video for a BCD160DN. We've already worked on an unboxing video for the BCD260DN. And going forward, we will publish that one, most likely sometime next month. So that's what's been going on here in the last month. It's been crazy here. My wife had surgery, so we've been sidelined with that for a couple of weeks. But we are slowly moving things forward. All right, going through here, let's see. EM is already asking, and I knew this question was going to come. Will tariffs increase the already expensive prices on scanners? Now, look, I don't have a crystal ball here. I don't know exactly what the tariffs are going to and not going to affect here. But let's just say, yeah, the tariffs are going to affect everything. Let's just assume that, right? Why are we going to assume this? Well, because if we look at, say, a BCD160DN, and we look at, well, this one's a 325P2, but if we look at where this scanner is manufactured, we know these are not manufactured in the United States. And because it's not manufactured here in the U.S., we can expect there to be an import tax on this radio. So, yes, whatever it is that we use, right, in this hobby, if it's not manufactured in the United States, let's just say, yes, we can expect a tariff on that device. What's the tariff going to be? Well, that's going to depend on when it's manufactured. How much is it going to be? When is it going to take into effect? Look, I don't know. It all depends on how much is already in the country, when the bill of sale or the bill of port, I think they call it. That's all I can really get into without getting too political about it, which I will not do here on this channel. So, yeah, if you're looking for a new scanner, why don't you go ahead and think about your timeline. I don't want to say panic buy, but it might be a good time to just go ahead and make that investment. Now, if you are looking to purchase a scanner from, say, Scanner Master, I am going to drop into chat here our affiliate link for Scanner Master. So it's just basically, for those listening, it's scannerschool.com/scannermaster. Now, if you're looking to buy something on Amazon, maybe you want to buy your scanner from Amazon or some accessories, same story. If you go to scannerschool.com, scannerschool.com/Amazon, that'll take you to a splash page that you have to then click through to get to Amazon. And again, anything that you purchase from either one of these links are affiliate links. That means that helps support our channel. So scannerschool.com/Amazon. And that is over there in the chat right now. Okay. JPX, the computer behind you, it crashed. It went on black. Nope, it just went into standby mode. So if I am just going to move my mouse over to my other screen, and I'm going to wake up that computer by just clicking on the screen, and there you are. And again, shameless plug, when you look over there in the top monitor, look, it reminds you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know it's out of focus. Hey, the thought was there, but that's that. All right, let's go back in here to chat. Kevin is saying, I have a Whistler at 1040 and listen to Nassau County Police Radio ID's car number. Okay, so let's back things up here, Kevin. I think what you put into chat is slightly incorrect. You cannot listen to Nassau County Police. They are encrypted. But what you can see on the screen would be the radio IDs. Basically, you'll get an encrypted, signal, busy tone on a Whistler device. But if you do have it set up so you can watch the radio IDs, then you'll at least see those go up on the screen. And again, that is something that is interesting to do. That's what I do on, say, Unitrunker or SDR Trunk or DSD Plus is, yes, the talk groups are encrypted. We don't know what traffic is being handled on those talk groups, but we know the units or the radios that are on there. And if we map out other talk groups with those same radio IDs, then we'll know, hey, this is a police talk group, or maybe this is a fire talk group. So at least it clues us in as to what is happening over there. All right. Next question. EM is asking, are there any new manufacturers of radio scanners? Right now, it's just the big two. We have Uniden and we have Whistler. Now, again, Whistler was acquired by a brand new LLC, Goliad Technologies, I think is what they call themselves. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Whistler webpage and get an answer to that one. All right. So if we look at the Whistler website, we will see that there's a press release here. If we click on news, it says that Whistler is under new ownership. And what's interesting is that the release comes from Cincinnati, Ohio, and that Goliad Products LLC is going to work on the distribution, manufacturing, e-commerce of Whistler. Does that mean that Goliad will be manufacturing Whistler products in the United States? Will they still be overseas? Don't know. But again, anything imported will be subjected to tariffs. So maybe, right? Maybe we'll see some things come in-house here. Any other manufacturers of scanner radios? No. Unication does have pagers, and they are different, right? It's not the same as a scanner radio, but you can use them to scan. A Unication does make pagers. They're not scanners, but people do use them as scanner radios, just like other two-way radio manufacturers, right? People use their Motorola's, they use their Kenwoods, they use other radios to do it. Out of the box scanner radio, no, there's no scanner radio out of the box that is manufactured by another party. There used to be others. There used to be other manufacturers, Radio Shack being one of them, but again, that was made by GRE. That was made by Whistler. Some also made by Uniden. And we had Regency, Icom. Okay, so Icom makes receivers. They kind of operate like scanners, but they don't have all of the bells and whistles as a scanner radio. So one of the newer radios by Icom is the ICR15. So this is the Icom R15. It is a receiver. We do notice that it has dual receive on the screen, no keypad, so to speak, numerical keypad, nice color display. But what really upsets me about this radio is the fact that there's no trunking on it. You know what? Let's just get into it, because this is the part that makes me very sore about this radio. It's really made for aviation. It's made for, I think, the overseas market primarily. But look at the frequency coverage. 108 to 500. That is it. It doesn't go down to 25 megahertz. It doesn't go up to 1 point something gig, right? 108 megahertz. You completely lost the VHF low band. You completely lost most of UHF. You've lost anything in the public safety band here in the US. Why stop at 500? My thought on that is because they wanted this to be an outstanding VHF, UHF aviation radio. So this is perfect for something like that. It does do AM and FM and wide FM, 2,000 memory channels, AM, FM, wide FM, and that's really all you get. So this radio really isn't meant to be used as we typically like to use as a scanner. The price point on this one is ridiculous too. If we just quickly look online on what this radio is going to cost, sit down. it's quite expensive. Icom, IC. So as we saw on the screen before, yeah, this radio is a little expensive for exactly what it is. So yeah, it makes me really not want to go out and buy one. But you know what? I think eventually it's just going to happen because I know we'll get some questions on this one, and I do want to bring you guys a review on this radio. So I will eventually bite the bullet, pick up this radio, and see how well it works for you guys. All right. Next question coming in again from EM. What SDR radios are set up for all mode scanning out of the box, if any? Out of the box, nothing. Out of the box, you get a software-defined radio. It is a interface. It's basically a device that plugs in via USB, is the gateway between your antenna and your computer. Okay, think of it as a dumb device. It's the software in your computer that tells the software-defined radio where to go, what to do, what to monitor, and how to monitor it. So this makes an SDR kind of like the case for a Swiss Army knife. It is it allows you to monitor P25, Phase 1, Phase 2, SSTV, shortwave radio, AM, FM, right? Whatever you can throw at it, if the software can handle demodulating that kind of signal, your software-defined radio can handle that. Now, if you buy something from, say, AirSpy, RTL, SDR, any of the major manufacturers, you can use software such as SDR Sharp, SDR++, SDR Trunk, DSD+, Unitrunker, SDR Console, SDR Uno, and the list goes on. And a lot of this stuff is now becoming cross operating system supported. So SDR Trunk, I've run that on my Mac. I run that on Windows. SDR++, Mac, Windows, Linux, I believe also. So there's a lot going on in the industry now. There's a lot going on in the hobby now to support software-defined radios. The only scanner radio that I am aware of, scanner radio built around a SDR, is the Uniden SDS 100 and the SDS 200. That uses software. You really hear my New York accent when I say software, right? Every single time I say it, I'm hearing it. Software-defined radios. It's the only radio out of the box that supports an SDR. I'm not going to say software. All right. There's other radios out there from Icom and Yaesu in the amateur radio market that have now converted over to a software-defined radio style of receiver, which is great because you can see a whole sweep of the spectrum. You can see where other stations are keying up and transmitting that you can receive, and it gives you visibility to the spectrum. So it's really interesting to see just how much of the radio hobby is becoming backed by software-defined radio technology. Okay, JPX is saying, are there any known issues with the BCD996P2 scanners where the backlights begin to fail? I have two of these scanners and both have failed. Example, blue is so dark you can barely see. Yes, I've heard of that happening. Don't know what the immediate cause is of something like that, but that has been known to happen where the luminescence, I guess you could say, behind it starts to fail. And it's interesting that a radio as new as a 996P2 exhibits the same issues as radios that were out 20, 30 years ago. Like if you go on eBay and you look for, say, a Pro 2006 backlight repair kit, you'll find those for $15. It's not the same kit for your 996P2, but it just goes to show that backlight illumination has been an issue for the scanner radio hobby for decades. I don't know why they can't get that something like that fixed, but yes, I would say that if you are bothered by that, um, you can send in the radio for repair at Uniden, and it's definitely something that I've heard of before and will continue to hear about. And all I can say is that if it's something that you want to prevent from happening, I would say then you may have to just not use the backlight, or turn them off, leave it as dim as possible if you need them on, that kind of thing. With my radios, I typically try to leave the backlights off because if they're on all the time. So Kevin is saying, I heard that Suffolk County Police Department went P25 digital. Yes, that is correct. So they finally retired their old APCO 16 system. What the APCO 16 system is a Motorola Type 2 network of sites, different from a P25 Phase 2 system. The Type 2 system is analog talk groups with P25 support. A P25 system is strictly P25. So they finally retired that old system, and all the county operations are now on a P25 system. Dion, hi from Australia. Good day. Good to see you. Good to have you on. Thank you for joining. EM is saying, do you think it'd have more features for such a well-known company? Yeah, speaking of the Icom radio. Yeah, this is kind of something that has stumped me, and I think a lot of the scatter radio world. The Icom ICR30, great radio, is a receiver that looks very similar to that is has been retired, and the features on that are crazy compared to what you get now. In fact, I don't know if I should do it or not. Over there, bottom shelf, right where my finger is pointing, is an Icom ICR30. Let's take a look. Now, admittedly, this is not a radio I've spent a lot of time with. As you can see, it's still in the box. But this was Icom's handheld flagship radio. This is an Icom ICR30 radio. Beautiful little radio. When I say little, I mean it's got some size on it. But what's really cool about this is all the features that you get in this little tiny case, right? You don't get trunking. But if we go through the specs on this, and again, the one I remember off the top of my head is Bluetooth. So it does allow you to use this radio with a smartphone. It does have a micro SD card. It allows you to record. It has GPS in it. It comes with a desktop charger, which I absolutely love. I'm trying to find more of the specifications here. It's been a while. I want to say this does P25 conventional and DMR. The frequency range on this is 0.1 megahertz up to 3.3 gig. I mean, that's insane. Sideband, CW, AM, FM, wide FM, D-Star, NXDN, DPMR, and P25. Now, again, none of it is trunked, but it is for what this costs and what you're getting out of it. You're almost at the same price point of the Icom ICR15. This radio it's a shame that they stopped producing it, and it's even more of a bigger shame that I still have it in the box, and I haven't even powered it on as of yet. But this will be one that we do eventually spend a lot of time on. I bought this radio primarily because I did see the writing on the wall. They were getting scarce. People were starting to say that it was going to be discontinued. So I jumped on buying one, which is usually the tactic that I use when I know it's time to buy a radio. One of the radios I did that with was a Uniden BR330T. Love that radio. And I'm glad I bought one and ended up buying another one on Reverb. So this may be an opportunity to buy some radios before, you can't buy them anymore also. No, I'm just kidding with you. All right. Let's see what we have here. Kevin is asking, when is Suffolk County Police P25 Digital Going Scanner Radio app? I can't answer that one for you. Now, I was running the live feed here for Suffolk County. I'm sorry. I was running the live feed here that was rebroadcasting that. When I redid everything here in my basement a little bit more than a year ago at this point, we're getting closer to, I had to shut everything down. And I haven't brought anything back up yet. So if somebody else steps in and does it, then that's when it comes back online. If I eventually get around to it, that's when it comes back online. But I do believe that somebody is running it on an ingest server, and also over on Open Megahertz, you can listen to Suffolk County PD, I'm pretty sure. So there's other opportunities for that. Dion's saying the SDS series and the Uniden 436 would be perfect if they did HF and sideband. We needed a receiver that does like the old AORs. Yes, AOR being another brand that was around that is still around, still makes radios, but they are expensive. An AOR DV1 or a DV10 is $1,000. $1,000. But it's another option besides Whistler or Uniden or Icom. And again, I have a couple of AOR radios in my setup. I have an AOR 3000 desktop radio, and I have an AOR Mini. And AOR has typically been outside of my my wallet, so to speak. But a lot of the old stuff, and again, EM, to kind of loop in your question here, where's a good place to buy used scanner radios? I see like an AOR 1000 or 100 on eBay. eBay is a great place to buy used radios. I've bought many used radios on eBay. I actually purchased my TRX-1 used many years ago on eBay. I've purchased an Icom ICR1, an R10, an R100, an R20, an R2, an R5. I buy a lot of older radios that at one point I could not afford over on eBay. Dion's also saying, yes, the Book of Faces is a good place. Just watch out you don't get scammed on there. There's a lot of scammers floating around on Facebook Marketplace. What you want to do is use PayPal when you're buying something on Facebook Marketplace, or meet them up and pay cash. But before you hand over the cash, make sure everything powers on and works. If you're going to use something like Facebook's transactional services, PayPal, friends and family, Venmo, Zelle, or any one of those, you lose the protection that's given with PayPal's goods and services. With PayPal goods and services, both the buyer and the seller are protected if something happens during that transaction. A lot of scammers don't like to use that. They'll say, oh, there's a fee involved. Well, you know what? Bake that into the price that you're asking for the radio if you don't want to lose out on the fee. It's the cost of doing business. Typically, if I'm buying a radio and somebody wants to do PayPal, whether it be on Facebook Marketplace or even on Radio Reference, I'll say, hey, I will pay that 3%, or I'll pay that 3% plus shipping, and use it as a negotiating tactic, right? Sometimes it's, I want this price no matter what. And if you say, hey, I'll give it to you and I'll pay that fee at this cost, then maybe the seller says, okay, I'm not going to lose that 3% transaction fee. Or maybe I would have lost 3% anyway, right? So you could say, I'll offer you 3% less, but I'll cover all your fees because you would have lost it anyway. Sometimes it's a win-win, right? It helps everybody out in the end. Yes, exactly. We got to watch out in the Book of Faces and the My Places and all those, all on the list of Craig's, on all of those transactions. I've sold some gear on Craigslist also. I sold some CB radios and stuff like that I really wanted like not to ship out and didn't want to deal with Facebook marketplaces. Craigslist was a great place to do some transactions, and I see myself looking on Craigslist a lot for the car market. I like to keep my finger on the pulse and see what deals are out there. Also, I've got a real soft spot for a couple of makes and models of vehicles that I wouldn't mind owning. All right, let's see. Going back up there, Jim. Any plans for the BCD160DN yet? Yes, Jim. Trying to look for more questions that came in here. Are there any advantages to purchasing DSD Fastlane? You don't see any change logs over the last years for the version 101. Tons of upgrades to Fastlane that you do not see at all in the public release. DSD plus Fastlane. Geez, where do I start? P25 trunking phase 1 and phase 2 audio decoding, NXDN, DMR. Right now, it actually allows you to decode the encoded radio ID alias on trunked radio systems. So if a system admin had said that radio ID 101 was for a dispatcher, when that radio keys up, now DSD Plus has the ability to run through that packet stream and then find out what that radio ID its alias was that was transmitted over as part of the data layer. Now, I also heard that it keeps a repository of this so that if your computer can't decode that data information, it can go out there and fetch that from their own database and then populate your version of DSD Plus with that radio information. So if somebody's gone through the trouble of decoding all of the radios in a fleet, then all of a sudden now your version of DSD Plus has that information on display. Very cool. Other pieces of software have followed suit with that and are starting to implement that as well onto their versions of DSD Plus. So if we go to Radio Reference, what we can find are in the forums, the change logs to DSD Plus. Here we go. Release Friday, January 24th, 2025. But there's definitely been updates. Again, we're at Fastlane 2.5 and change at this date. All right, let's see what else we've got coming in. Hamfests are a good place. Yes, if you can find a ham place, it's a great place to do a cash-based deal. And you can find some good deals, too, on Hamfests. A lot of the issues, though, I find is people will go on eBay and they'll see what they think that the radios are worth, and they'll ask that. And it used to be able you go to Hamfest and you get some great deals. But, the eBays have kind of raised the prices, so to speak. I've gotten some good deals, though. Some older radios, even like a Uniden BC160 XLT. I picked up a few of those at Hamfest. Older radios that people just saying, we're just going to clean up our closet, and they get rid of that. All right. I have not used Wind Radio. I heard a lot about it, so I can't recommend it. I know a lot of people use it, that it's got great support, and I believe it was like software-defined radio before the software-defined radio, if you want to think of it that way. It was, again, something that was always out of my budget, something I didn't really need at the time, but it's got some great support. And if it's something that you want to add, that's great, and let us know what you think. Let me just take a quick coffee break here. JPX, I only buy new unless I know the person very well and you want a warranty. That's exactly the way I feel. Sometimes when you look at a used market, for a couple dollars more, you can actually buy new, and then you get the warranty involved with that as well. So you've really got to factor that when buying used, right? What's the value of it to you? What's the value of it to somebody else? Because again, they may think that it's worth a lot more than it might be. What's the going market on something like that? And again, when you buy used, you don't know if it's something like, again, I've got this Icom radio sitting in the box that I've never used. It's still a brand new radio. I would ask brand new radio pricing on it or close to it, minus say 10% type of deal, right? But to somebody else, it's a 5-year-old radio. To the market, it's a 5-year-old plus radio. Somebody else might have used it and worn the keypad completely off, right? So the market, the condition, your own feelings on the radio, the seller's feelings on the radio is going to dictate what the cost is on it. So there's a lot that we have to factor when it comes used. Again, that's why we use friends, not use friends and families. Do not use friends and family. Use goods and services. If they mail you a brick, I mean, come on. You're not going to have anything. If they don't mail you anything and if you use friends and family, you're out. You're out. So, good to see that the audio issues are A-OK. Dion saying, much news on Whistler since they were taken over. Nothing really yet. It's just that Goliad's taking them over. They're going to handle all of the manufacturing. I did hear that the software is back up. The ability to update the database in your scanners are back up. So there is some forward movement from Goliad in the resurrection of Whistler. So we do have at least that going for it, which is a great question. Again, the issue being, though, it's got a lot of U.S. support, especially when it comes to the database. And overseas, out of the country, in Australia, it's really painful to set up anything that relies on the radio reference database, because radio reference database is only as good as the data that is community driven and brought into it. So if there's not a lot of input from people where you are, the database is going to be scarce. So that, that's one of the issues when it comes to a community driven type of repository. But again, if you can get data in there, then there's more data, then there's, it becomes a snowball effect. So guys, great session this month. Let's see. Yep, we're right, Dion. Exactly. So before I have another computer related issue here and I have to pause and restart, I'm going to end the session here. Again, we will do this again on the first Saturday of May. Hopefully by then I've completely killed all the gremlins that are plaguing these live feeds. We will find out then, though. Again, check the YouTube channel. We are, again, releasing videos and content regularly. Once we get that ball moving, we will be going to short form also. So make sure that you are ready for when that starts to happen by following us again over on YouTube. Hey, if TikTok again has been extended here in the US, so if it's still around when we start, we'll be over there. Instagram, Facebook, all the typical places. Wherever you are, we want to be. And again, it's not our goal to flood with Lucius content. It's going to be tutorial, short form information, updates, tips and tricks, and that kind of stuff. So if you have any suggestions of things that you'd like to see, let me know. Drop me a line. And again, if you're catching this live, again, thank you so much for watching us on a Saturday morning. If you're catching us on a replay, again, thanks for catching us on the replays. Let us know what you'd like to see from us. And again, to our Patreon supporters, thanks for all of your support. And we'll catch our Patreon supporters again on their own dedicated live session on the first Tuesday of May. Guys, I'm going to sign it off here. Thanks again so much. Have a good one. And again, the secrets are in the searches. Make sure you get out of scan and search out some of the frequencies that are in your area. 73 everyone. We'll catch you all again live next month. Bye-bye.